Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Prime Time News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
I'm Stephanie Lazarus. Before we head into the news in detail, here's a look at the headlines.
Temporary ban on Facebook removed after successful talks. Arrest warrant issued on former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran. New evidence emerges in Lasantha Vikramatunga murder. Teacher-student unions claim delays in resolving university issues a conspiracy to end free education. Minister Vijit Vijayamuni Zoisa blames officials for failing to tackle drug menace in Bibila.
The temporary ban imposed on Facebook was lifted this afternoon by the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka on the orders of President Maithripala Sirisena. Issuing a statement, the President's Media Division said the government extend its regrets over the inconvenience caused to the public due to this temporary restriction to access social media tools.
On Wednesday last week, the government took a decision to ban social media platforms including Facebook, WhatsApp and Viber in the wake of the unrest which broke out in Kandy. The restriction to access Facebook was relaxed following talks with its representatives today, a day after the ban on Viber and WhatsApp were removed. Bhairav Acharya, Facebook's public policy manager for India and South Asia, and Shivnath Thukral, the public policy director, met with Secretary to the President Austin Fernando this morning at the Presidential Secretariat. Following the conclusion of the talks, President Maithripala Sirisena announced on his official Twitter account that on his instructions, his secretary Austin Fernando had discussions with Facebook officials. They have agreed that its platform will not be used for spreading hate speech and inciting violence. Issuing a communique, the President's Media Division said Facebook conveyed to the secretary that it does not tolerate hate speech on its platform and shared its deep commitment to remove hate speech connected to race, ethnicity, national origin and religious affiliation in the context of the immediate emergency situation in Sri Lanka. Therefore, the representatives of Facebook said it would immediately respond to the details provided by the government, civil society and criminal investigation institutions. The communique went on to note anyone propagating hate speech on Facebook is liable under Sri Lankan law and prompt action will be taken according to Facebook's community standards. It goes on to say both sides agreed to conduct a progress review on the matter within the proper time frame and to implement more efficient and productive measures in the future with a proper plan. The President's Media Division said the decision to restrict access to some social media platforms temporarily paved the way to curtail the attempts to spread communal violence across the country, misusing social media in a manner detrimental to national harmony.
Speaking exclusively to Newsfirst, Chairman of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, Dr. Deepika Udagamas, notes that incidents such as those that transpired in Kandy could have been prevented if similar incidents were prosecuted.
What is absolutely necessary is decisive action regarding law and order. We do not consider this incident in Teldenia and the environs to be an isolated incidents. We see it as sort of a series. Because we see from the incident in 2014 in Aludgama, nobody was held responsible, absolute impunity. And then it goes on, and then you have more recent incidents in Gintota and then Nampara and now Kandy and so on. And in almost all these instances, what we see is a pattern. That is that there is some random, accident or, some such incident. And then outsiders come. It seems to be quite pre-planned. That's what we need to look at. There is something sinister, that forces people who coexist to then change their positions on that coexistence. So we need to get to the bottom of that. What is this? So, when people are not held accountable, it results in this sort of situations. The police and the Attorney General's Department have a bounden duty to follow up, because the police need not wait for political authorities to give the green light. Now, if there were at least a few emblematic cases, prosecutions, I think it would have sent a strong message.
Newsfirst also questioned the chairman of the Human Rights Commission on the government's decision to impose a temporary ban on social media.
We have received about 122 complaints about the closure of social media. People love their Facebook, but the point is, always living in a democracy means we have to balance everything in life. So with freedom of expression and right to information, those rights are absolutely paramount in a democracy, but those have to be balanced with the larger public interest. So the Human Rights Commission doesn't see anything wrong about the closure, for the duration of that very difficult period. Because first of all, the priority of the state should be definitely the protection of life and law and order, public order. That is absolutely essential. But then after that period, the question is how you ease those restrictions. But in the long run, I think, this is a serious issue relating to technology. So technical persons with technical know-how really have to come up with ideas as how to do this. So social media is nothing but an instrument, so eventually it comes to the human element as to how we use it, and our own thoughts, our attitudes. That's very important. Necessary laws have to be enacted, but very thoughtfully, so that freedom of expression and right to information is not unduly restricted.
Fourth Magistrate Lanka Jayaratne issued a warrant for the arrest of former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran for failing to comply with the notice issued on him. The magistrate ordered for the warrant to be issued in both Sinhala and English.
The officer in charge of the Financial Investigations Unit at the Criminal Investigations Department, Inspector Sanjeevani Kappatige, provided evidence before Fourth Magistrate Lanka Jayaratne today. Her evidence was based on the efforts undertaken to inform Lakshman Arjuna Mahendran that he is required to appear before the director of the CID to provide a statement. The CID has sent the notice via a courier service, and the contents had been sent via SMS to his mobile number and via the official email of the director of the CID. She added a statement recorded from Anjali Mahendran, the daughter of the former governor, made it clear Arjuna Mahendran was aware notice was issued on him. In addition, the court registrar informed the magistrate the notice sent to Mahendran's Singapore address via speed post has not been returned, leading the Additional Solicitor General Yasantha Kodagoda to understand Mahendran had received the notice. As it is clear, Lakshman Arjuna Mahendran was not complying with the notice issued on him and was avoiding this case, the magistrate issued a warrant for his arrest.
The owner of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, Arjuna Aloysius, and its CEO, Kasun Palisena, were further remanded until the 29th of March.
Attorney at law Jeevantha Jayatilaka, appearing for Arjuna Aloysius and Kasun Palisena, who are in remand custody, informed court as none of the employees at Perpetual Treasuries Limited are reporting to work, it is impossible to have separate representation for PTL, which is listed as suspect number 3 in this case. Attorney Jayatilaka requested suspect number 4, Chief Executive Officer Kasun Palisena, to be allowed to represent PTL. However, Additional Solicitor General Yasantha Kodagoda informed court several key employees continue to function at PTL, and intelligence gathered proves PTL's compliance officer is still actively involved in daily operations. He added Palisena is an individual in remand custody and PTL is a separate company, and if he appears for the company and himself, there could be instances of conflict of interest. The magistrate would issue an order on the matter at the next hearing. It was revealed in court Anjali Mahendran had handed over both her mobile devices to the CID, and following a forensic examination on the devices, they are to be handed back to her tomorrow. The CID was authorized by court to continue recording statements from Arjuna Aloysius and Kasun Palisena. Submitting a report, Additional Solicitor General Yasantha Kodagoda highlighted the need to delve into telephone interactions between the suspects and certain other listed individuals. An order was issued on the managers of several telecommunications service providers to provide the respective details.
It was revealed in court today that pages from the notebooks of late senior journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge and the police record book had been removed under the influence of former DIG Prasanna Nanayakara. The Criminal Investigations Department stated that this information was revealed through a statement by former IP Tissa Sugathapala.
Former Inspector Tissa Sugathapala and former Deputy Police Chief Prasanna Nanayakara, who were suspects in the Lasantha Wickrematunge case, were presented before court today. The second accused, Tissa Sugathapala, was the officer in charge of the Crimes Division at the Mount Lavinia Police Station. When the case was called today, the CID said 7 individuals from the motorcycle division of the Army Intelligence Unit had been questioned in connection with the motorcycle used to carry out the murder. Further, statements have also been recorded from former Army Commander Field Marshal Sarat Fonseca and former Minister Mervyn Silva. The magistrate today also permitted the CID to obtain a forensic report on Vikramatunga's cell phone. The CID also informed courts that even though they went to the prison to obtain a statement from former Deputy Police Chief Prasanna Nanayakara regarding the case, they failed to do so as he had fainted.
The 37th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council is currently taking place in Geneva. The process of the recommendations given to Sri Lanka by the Council will be reviewed during the sessions.
Delivering his annual report to the UNHRC regular session in Geneva last week, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Prince Zaid Ra'ad Al Hussein said he was alarmed by recent violent incidents in Sri Lanka.
I am very alarmed by recurring and continuing episodes of mob violence targeting ethnic and religious minorities, particularly Muslims, including most recently in Ampara and in several locations in the Kandy district. The Council will be fully briefed on the 16th of March.
Ravinatha Ariyasinghe, the Sri Lankan permanent representative to Geneva, speaking to Newsfirst, said that a review on the country's human rights situation is being conducted annually. Ariyasinghe noted that the previous session was attended by Dr. Harsha De Silva in November last year. The team that will be taking part in the sessions tomorrow will be headed by Ravinatha Ariyasinghe, while sessions on the 21st of this month, where Sri Lanka will again be discussed, will be headed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Tilak Marapana. President Maithripala Sirisena's state visit to Japan continued today with a tour of the city of Hiroshima.
The president was warmly welcomed by the mayor of the Hiroshima prefecture upon his arrival. Thereafter, the president paid floral tribute to the Hiroshima Peace Memorial. The president also visited the Hiroshima Museum.
For 16 consecutive days, operations across all universities have come to a standstill as a result of the trade union action by non-academic staff. This action has been inconvenienced for over 150,000 students engaged in higher studies.
Non-academic staff are tasked with specific responsibilities, which include the management of resources, preparing timetables for lectures, as well as printing examination papers. The trade union action has put a stop to all these operations. Over 15,000 non-academic staff launched a strike action on the 28th, citing 5 key demands, which include a wage increase that matches the percentage of increase granted for university academic staff. All internal examinations across universities have been postponed. The aptitude test to enroll students to the University of Moratuwa and the University of the Visual and Performing Arts have been postponed indefinitely. All practical examinations are held only once a year. Therefore, students who wish to enroll to universities have also been affected by this trade union action. In the recent days, the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura conducted a study on dengue prevention with funding from several institutes, including the National Science Foundation. That too has been stopped. Despite the trade union action, the non-academic staff, however, have not stepped away from caring for the animals at the Faculty of Agriculture.
For the past 10 to 12 months, medical students were in turmoil owing to the Saitam issue. These students just started their studies. The university not only has internal programs, but also caters to external programs. We are now facing challenges. The university teachers are engaged in research, and if some have to be put on hold, we fall back to square one. Samples at laboratories need to be kept safe. At times, there are only 1 or 2 samples for the whole of Sri Lanka. If there is a sudden power failure, Sri Lanka will lose valuable material. We spoke to the Higher Education Minister Kabir Hashim yesterday over the phone. He says the country does not have the funding to meet our demands. He says there is no provision from the Treasury. Then I told the minister a separate circular needs to be released for the funding. Last evening, the chairman of the University Grants Commission had left a letter at his security office. It says they discussed the letter I addressed to him on the 9th of February, and we spoke about the matter after a month and a half at the Ministry of Highways and Higher Education. We do not know who held those discussions. They are requesting us to report to work today to discuss these matters. The government and administration has no interest to solve this. They are working to shut down these universities. They have sabotaged university education and taken away the right to education. As an alternative, they open private universities and attempt to privatize higher education. We issue a warning to the people on this attempt. An agenda to weaken the state's university system is in operation. I will not call it a conspiracy. This is not done in secret. Their agenda is clear to us. The government assumes time will solve everything, but it will not. The only way to solve this issue is through dialogue with the University Trade Union Joint Committee.
Addressing an event held in Colombo yesterday evening, State Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs, Dr. Harsha De Silva, called on banks to do more to support new businesses.
When I sit with ministers and officials and listen to the discussions on growth and wealth creation in Sri Lanka, always I hear the word bank. Bank. Then I hear banks are only lending to those with collateral and not willing to take risks. And my personal anecdote was about that. Sometimes no risk at all. Even the foreign exchange risk is taken by the government of Sri Lanka. They have guarantees by the treasury, they have guarantees by the sovereign, they have guarantees from everyone. But they still want a massive risk premium, if at all they want to lend. Then I hear from the bankers that they must protect depositors and they can only take calculated risks. But who calculates? What are the risks they take? But what returns do they get? Banks make billions. We all know that. But those who need the funds from the banks hardly get any.
Representatives. The latest opposition is reported from the Ambalantota Pradesha Sabha.
We informed the leadership and the General Secretary about the matter. The UNP is a party where the leadership does not listen to anything. Though it brands itself democratic, it does not listen to the people, nor the public representatives. If this situation goes on, the UNP will continue its downward spiral and it cannot be stopped. We will not stop raising concerns. We will take to the streets very soon. If we speak about the party leadership, he came into power in 2002 and was defeated 2 years later. He came back in 2015 and the people are disgusted with it. Therefore, we need a leadership where things change from grassroots level. We need to build this party. If such leadership arises, we will have a future. If the party is to be strong, we need leaders like JR and Premadasa.
Over the past few days, former opposition leader of the Kadula Municipal Council raised concerns of injustices caused when appointing members to the MC. At a media briefing today, the method adopted by the Kadula electorate organizer to appoint members was explained.
The minister summoned all the candidates. We were informed there was a question paper and a score of 10 was given to those who worked hard for the electorate. The minister instructed in such a manner and told to send the top 5 names to the party general secretary. That is how the names made it into the gazette. We cannot please everyone. There were issues. I accept there were narrow-minded political agendas and that they had an impact on the party. We need to listen to the people and ensure these issues do not recur. I responsibly state there needs to be a change in the UNP. The people and the country need to be able to feel it, and it should be done responsibly. These must be adopted.
Where do you find alcohol and drugs in Bibila? Minister Vijit Vijaymunizoisa criticized officials attending the Bibila development meeting for not making enough effort to eradicate the drug menace.
Our people are drinking toddy like civets. During the election campaign, they gave away toddy in the Radhaliyad area. Where is the village officer from that area? Where is the Samruddhi officer? He is here, isn't he? I told you how drugs are brought to these areas. I told you where the drugs are also. Drugs are in the red clay. Stop it if you can. Drugs are bought in through the bus. I told you before the election also. It is still happening. Please stop this immediately. Mr. OIC, they transport these drugs in private buses.
The minister also expressed his thoughts on giving farmers money instead of the fertilizer subsidy.
There's no point giving money. It's okay even if it's soil, but we must give people something to carry back. They have to take it in the tractor. It is then that the people feel like they were given something. If not, the people don't feel it.
Minister of Housing and Construction Sajid Premadasa declared open the 49th Udagamana Concept Village today.
The Siudevigama Udagamana village, constructed in Maharakma, Kalutura, comprises of 39 houses. A sum of 37.3 million rupees under the Samata Sevana Udagamana Revival Program was spent on the construction of the village. The village is equipped with all infrastructure facilities, including access to water and electricity.
We have built many houses and supported another 3,000 to 4,000 families. When such operations are underway, how can we say that the government is not efficient? How can one claim there is no development? Come 2020, we need to have 2,500 villages. Therefore, in 2018, 2019 and 2020, we need to construct 650 villages a year. Keep in mind, some are attempting to use the war victory to grab power once again and line up their pockets. They want to portray themselves as patriots and people with policies. If they have any love for the country, they must put a stop to all efforts to destroy the country.
There has been much debate and discussion regarding the proposal to establish a permanent High Court with a 3-judge bench in order to expedite the hearings of serious and large-scale fraud and corruption. The draft bill on the proposed amendments to the Judicature Act was presented to Parliament on the 6th of March. However, a number of parties have already filed petitions at the Supreme Court opposing this draft bill.
Suggestions were made to make amendments to certain clauses of the Judicature Act No. 2 of 1978. As per the draft bill, the Judicial Services Commission had the power to appoint judges to a High Court with a 3-judge bench that will hear cases regarding large-scale corruption. Even though the power to decide where such a court may be located lies with the Minister of Law and Order, the decision needs to be approved by the Judicial Services Commission. The proposal suggests that both the Attorney General and the Chairman of the Bribery Commission be given the power to file cases with this High Court. It is further recommended in this draft bill that the court be allowed to hear cases that fall under the bill both locally and abroad. A number of crimes including theft, property scams, breaches of trust and stock market scams are said to be covered by the amendment. While cases must be heard on a daily basis at this court, only a 5-member bench at the Supreme Court will be permitted to hear appeals. Appeals must be made within 28 days of the verdict being delivered. The joint opposition submitted a petition to the Supreme Court on Monday claiming that the draft bill is unconstitutional. The bill gives the head of the Bribery Commission similar rights given to the Attorney General in relation to filing cases concerning fraud, corruption, abuse or bribery. This could pave the way for a dangerous situation. Meanwhile, the Bar Association has also filed a petition against the proposed amendments. While they say they have no issue with the 3-man bench, issues remain with regard to the process being followed. Earlier, the procedure followed when presenting a case before a 3-judge bench was that the Attorney General would first inform the Chief Justice on what he wanted to do. The Bar Association states that this should remain. The bill also calls for cases to be taken up on a daily basis. However, this cannot be done practically. We have stated this on a number of occasions. Before going for daily hearings, we should attempt to resolve the issue at pre-trial stage. 11 requests have also been made requesting permission to object the petitions made in opposition to the amendments to the Judicature Act. Individuals seeking permission in this regard include Minister Partli Champigoranwaga, State Ministers Dr. Harsh De Silva, Ajit P. Pereira, Eran Vikramaratna, Karu Paramithana and also Professor Sarath Vijay Surya. They state that the draft bill is not in violation of the Constitution. We thought that the people of this country would like us to bring in such laws. Now, why is there such a sudden interest? So I ask the people of this country, understand who appears on behalf of these thieves. who is opposed to hearing these cases quickly. This is related to both the old thieves and the new ones. There is no difference whether it's UNP, SLFP or JVP. There are plenty of corrupt people outside these parties as well. Only a thief or a person who is corrupt would oppose this.
A book titled Nokiyu Pravrutti, authored by senior journalist Chetana Liyanage, was launched at the Foundation Institute in Colombo today.
Chetana Liyanage's memoir was launched under the patronage of Emeritus Professor J.B. Disanayaka. Chetana, who gained fame as an anchor on Newsfirst, is the youngest daughter of veteran journalist Gunadasa Liyanage. Today's event began with a memorial of the late Gunadasa Liyanage. The book launch also coincides with the 20th anniversary of the veteran journalist's death. The event saw the participation of a significant number of people, including senior journalists, politicians and artists.
And moving on, sports news. In cricket news, Sri Lanka take on Bangladesh tomorrow in a must-win encounter of the Nidahas Trophy T20 tournament. And speaking to the media today ahead of tomorrow's game, Sri Lankan coach Chandika Hathurusinghe stated that the team is well prepared for tomorrow's encounter and that they have identified their weakness.
I think the second game, the one was put us under pressure a little bit because we scored 214 and you're not losing many games scoring that much of runs in your career. All credit to Bangladesh, the way they batted, they put our bowlers under pressure. I think we didn't bowl well, we need to accept that. I think on this tournament, the bowlers have to step up because the pitches are very, very good. So you can't blame them as well. If you look at our last 5 T20s, our record is much better than previous 10 matches overall. So we have to improve, and we are not number 1 or number 2 team in T20. There's a lot to improve. That's what we are working on.
Well, that's a wrap up Primetime News. I'm Stephanie Lazarus.
And I'm Shane Silva. Is the no confidence motion against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe a political move, or is it for the betterment of the country?
Stay tuned to News First. Chaturanga Hapuarchi puts UPFA parliamentarian Vasudevan Anayakara in the hot seat to discuss the current political situation in the country. Good night.
Уважаемые граждане России, голосование на выборах президента Российской Федерации состоится в Шри-Ланке 18 марта 2018 года с 8 часов утра до 8 часов вечера на избирательном участке номер 8338, расположенном в посольстве России в Коломбо по адресу 404 Баудалока Мавата, Коломбо 7. Приглашаем принять участие в голосовании.